Welcome everybody. My name is Julian Cepeda. I am the director of showcasing here at the Hawaii Filmmakers Collective, and I'm joined by our special guest for our episode 3 of Coffee with Filmmakers. And so we're gonna go straight into introducing who our guest is. Our guest today is Michael Andres Palmieri. Is a coach, consultant, writer, and producer across many platforms. His work and those of his clients have been seen on television, in theaters, museums, science centers, aquariums, video games, manga, graphic novels, and live events. He also specializes in training and development of entrepreneurs in the creative economy, utilizing his own curriculum to which he owns a copyright. He has designed, facilitated, and produced training and development programs utilizing his curriculums at USC, UCLA, Columbia College, NYU, Columbia University, the Maui Writers Conference and Retreat, the state of Hawaii, debit / not credit, creative industry divisions in China, Japan, and Singapore. He's a graduate of the University of Southern California, and he is currently completing his doctorate at Teachers College at Columbia University. Originally born in Argentina, he lived in Italy prior to immigrating to the United States. Ladies and gentlemen, Michael! Let's get it. Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Add some energy in there. How you doing today, Michael?
I'm really well, Julian. Thank you for having me. I'm excited to talk to you.
What inspired you to get into the entertainment industry?
It's my father was an opera tenor. My uncle was an opera baritone, and he was also an artistic director. This is back in Argentina.
Wow.
And whenever my father's operas require child actors, he would bring me and my brother Mario, I'm the oldest, Mario is the second oldest, to come and perform alongside him. And it was during those times in performing, on those operas that I really fell in love with the power of storytelling.
Right.
And the beauty was I got the chance to work with my dad. And at the end of the season, we got paid in toys. So I'm like, it was a win-win situation.
You can't go wrong there. You can't go wrong there. Storytelling and toys.
Yeah. So yeah, and it's so I really got because of my dad and my uncle and on my father's side of the family, I really became passionate about the power of storytelling, not only to move and inspire, but also to affect change. And I continued to pursue different aspects of it since I was a kid.
Right. Oh yeah, that's awesome. I completely I think storytelling is so powerful, and it's done in so many different forms, and I love that yours came from opera, because that's so rare, by the way. I don't know anyone in my life that has been involved in opera or been behind the scenes. And so what was that experience like, being a kid growing up in the theater, in a theater production that's opera, and it's such a unique genre, right? And it comes from such a lot of history and a lot of a lot of the stories that are being remade today come from a lot of those past traditions and a lot of those past stories. So what was that like for you growing up in that?
It was I loved it because even though I was born in Argentina, my first language was Spanish, but we also spoke Italian in the house. So, and most operas are either in Italian or French or German, but the majority, I would say, were probably in Italian. So, I really got a chance to understand not only the power of storytelling, but the power of language. And for those who didn't understand, Italian, just the power of being able to emote, because at the end of the day, people were moved by the singing, the production design, the dancing, and so on and so forth. And of course, it would read the libretto in case they couldn't understand it. But for the most part, it was the overall production that really moved people to tears. Right. And I'll never forget that one of the most powerful moments in my life was when I was performing with my dad, and it was basically the last aria of the last act of the opera. My father was center stage. I was stage right. I was looking at my dad belting out the last few notes, and I was close. I was sitting in the lap of an actress, and I was close enough to see the orchestra pit and make out the faces of the first few rows of patrons. And I remember when my dad hit the last note, right? That was going to bring down the curtain. And I still get chicken skin thinking about it. You know, before people started to clap,
Right.
what I heard was people weeping.
Oh, wow.
And as I said, I just, you know, I can still remember it and see it today, and in that moment. And I just remember saying, you know, I want to do this. I want to be able to tell stories. I want to be able to move people. And as I grew older, I really became more and more fascinated that the theater sat about 750 people. So here was a 750 strangers who experienced the same story, were all moved for those 3 hours, you know, by the same story, and had come together for this moment. And most of them would never see each other again, right? And I thought how beautiful and how unique and how special that was. So it made me realize, as I said, the power of storytelling.
Yeah,
so
the power of storytelling and the power of art too, because
yes,
that in itself is an art form, and so it's a beautiful, beautiful story. Thank you for sharing that.
Thank you.
We talked about moving, right? And so when it comes to moving, you've moved around a lot, right? You've been to you know, you've been to NYU and to Columbia and all these different countries internationally. How did you come to know Hawaii?
I was an executive in the entertainment industry for many years, primarily in development and production. So back in 1996, an agent sent me a script that I fell in love with called 6 Days, 7 Nights. And I fell in love with the story because it was a very contained story. It was partially inspired by an Italian movie that had been done in the 70s. And I just set my mind that I wanted to sell this and get this made. After a bidding situation, which means that multiple studios were interested in it, Hollywood Pictures bought the project. That was in 1996. And then we were able to attach Harrison Ford to it, and then Anne Heche. And it was a $100 million movie. And this was also going to be the first movie that I had a credit on. So
wow, that's huge.
So when the production team got together, and the movie is supposed to take place in Tahiti. Right. But when the production team came together, we chose to shoot, I would say about 80% of the movie in Hawaii, and we shot it in Kauai.
Whoa.
So in 1997, we spent many months in Kauai shooting the movie. And we were able to pour, the movie was, as I mentioned, $100 million budget. So I think we were able to pour about $35 million of production monies into the local economy there. And that's how I was introduced to the state.
Right.
About 6 years later, the movie comes out in 1998. I want to say about 6 years later, I was having a birthday party, and a colleague of mine brought this woman to my party, and she's like, I'd like to introduce you to her. It's someone that I've known for a while, and I met her through the Maui Writers Conference and Retreat. She's she's done a lot of work in the state, but specifically in Maui, and her name is Georgia Skinner.
Right.
And she looks at me and she's like, I hear you like to teach. And at this point in time, I've been teaching my curriculum at USC and UCLA in these courses and classes. I said, yeah, I do. And she's like, well, I would love to invite you to teach at the Maui Writers Conference and Retreat. It's one of the top writing conferences in the world. And would you be interested? And I said, sure, never thinking anything about it. So several months later, I get the invitation, and I ended up teaching at the screenwriting program for 5 years. And a lot of my students went on to sell their scripts or their books and so on and so forth. So it was that was a second introduction, and then that went away, right?
Yeah.
And then several years later, Georgia's team reaches out and say, hey, we're putting this program together that we're calling Creative Lab Hawaii. We just put out an RFP. Would you be interested in responding to it? So, and that's how I've come back. So Hawaii has been one of these places, and I love the people and I love the state. I mean, I love the whole concept of ohana and aloha and the sensibility and the beauty of the state, that for some reason, it's one of those places that just kept coming back into my life, right?
Circled back into it.
Exactly. I kept circling back into it. So, so that was how I got to come to, know Hawaii and its people and its locations, and just, it's been an awesome adventure.
Right, right. Oh man, that's beautiful, man. Hawaii, I think the most beautiful thing about this place is that when it brings in the people that it brings in, it the Aina knows, I feel like the Aina knows who is
Yes,
here to help elevate the community, the culture, and just and the greatest thing about a lot of your experiences is that you've experienced so many different cultures and places and spaces that when you come here, it feels right and it feels like, oh man, like I could really do a lot of good here, and
yes.
I can also gain a lot from my experiences here, and it just sounds like the relationships that you gain with the students that you've taught, with the courses that you've gone through, has really helped elevate not only your work but also your relationships. And I think in
Absolutely.
this industry, relationships are everything, and you know
I
that
totally,
better than anyone.
yeah, no, I totally agree. And for me, one of the biggest takeaways from my time in Hawaii has been just Hawaii is one of the most diverse states in the country,
Absolutely,
right? And it's
absolutely.
also a gateway to between East and West. And it's also for me one of the one of the first places that for this country represents us to, China, Japan, and Southeast Asia, and the Philippines, and so on and so forth. And so I find it a compelling mix of so many different cultures and histories, and so on and so forth. And one of my commitments, you know, with the work that I've done with creative industries has been to support the entrepreneurs in the creative economy
Right.
to be able to tell their stories, because I think the folklore and the mythology that the people of Hawaii and specifically Native Hawaiians and Pacific Islanders I feel have not yet been tapped to their fullest potential
Right.
to be told in the world. And so many of these stories were suppressed by white colonialists and so on and so forth. And so that's why I'm so excited that there's a new movement to really empower these content creators to decolonize the storytelling process, and more importantly, start telling their own stories. So, I'm grateful and humbled that I'm able to be one of the supportive people one of the people that can help make
Right.
that happen.
And as somebody who's speaking as one of your students, I'm very grateful that you've created the space and also helped a lot of our people of color, our Black, brown, and indigenous people get the pen back and get the power back in their storytelling and get the power back in what they want to show the world in some of the stories that have impacted them and resonated them. I think we're moving towards reaching that full potential of that content and being more consistent, where it's not just like one movie that comes out every 4 or 5 years about the Aina or about Native Hawaiian culture or about Polynesian culture. And now more than ever, we're starting to see a consistency of people coming through the wires and saying, yo, you know what, I have a story to tell too, and I have something that I think will really resonate and impact the world. And I think it's great to see that there's people like you that are empowering our people to do that and to push
I
forward and to have the
Thank you.
resources.
I think that, I have to tell you, I think that I agree with you. I think we're at a very, very powerful moment in time.
Right.
Because I
Right.
think there are many things that are intersecting to make this happen,
Mhm.
right? The first thing is that the process of creating stories has been so democratized. Before, you had to buy these huge reels of film, process it, cut it, so on and so forth. And now, as you well know, there are people who can shoot a full movie on
Get off
this,
an iPhone.
right?
Get off an iPhone.
Yes, and it's just like, so it's mind-boggling. So that I think that that's really helping. It's removing gatekeepers, and it's removing potentially the minimizing the cost that's associated with creating content, and more importantly, putting the power into the storyteller's hands in the community that they want to create.
Yeah.
I also think that more than ever, I think that people who've been systematically oppressed.
Right.
And systematically marginalized, and whose stories have been buried or have been dismissed, through the use of technology like social media, have been able to meet each other and organize with one another, connect across spaces, connect across geography, connect across generations, and be able to, as a community, come together and say, we need to make our own stuff.
Right.
We can't depend on anyone else out there, right? At
Yeah.
the end of the day, it's up to us, right? And then I also think that, you know, the work that Georgia Skinner launched many years ago with these training and development programs, and obviously organizations such as HFC and HIF and OHINA and Hawaii Women in Filmmaking and PIC, they're all coming to a very, you know, I feel like they're coming up in together and connecting with each other, right?
Right.
To make this stuff happen and creating programs to really empower these voices, which is so amazing. And from a selfish standpoint, you know, I pass as white, but I don't consider myself white. I'm Latino. I'm also
Latinos come in all shapes, sizes, colors. Trust me, I look like this, and my mom is your skin complexion. So
trust me, my sister who lives in Argentina, her name is Maria Gracia. She has your coloring. Okay?
Yeah.
So, and my mom's lineage actually dates back to the indigenous people of South America, and 11% of my DNA is from those people who were devastated and destroyed by Spaniard and Portuguese colonialists, right? So, and what hurts me the most, or what, you know, just makes my blood boil, is with that oppression also came the destruction of knowledge, of stories that have been passed down through oral traditions for thousands of years, right? And more than ever, I'm like, what the planet needs is, we need to go back to the way that those people worked, right? Community, circular economy, supporting your tribe, you know, all of those kinds of things that I think more than ever are required for not only ourselves, but the survival of the planet. So for me, there's an impetus to make sure that we can get those stories and those voices out there, because we need them more than ever.
And I'm happy, at least for in my experiences, I'm really grateful to Hawaii for allowing me to feel more connected to my ancestors, to feel more connected to who I am culturally. Hawaii is really the pivotal place for not only diversity and social justice, but also for finding who you are and who are the people that are behind you, the community that supports you and loves you. And now more than ever, it's time for us to rise up, because there's a market for any story out there, for anybody who has something powerful and moving to tell. And so
I couldn't agree with you more.
Yeah, it's just time for our people to rise up. And so
yes.
I'm excited. But speaking about rising up, so what inspired you to create your evidence-based curriculum and coaching business that specializes in the training and development of entrepreneurs in the creative economy?
So I graduated from USC, and prior to going to USC, as I told you, I started on stage as a singer, as an actor. Then I continued acting through high school, was a cub reporter for the Connecticut Post. I'd done various, many different things about the business. So now when I came out of USC, and I loved my education and my experience there, I felt ill-equipped to really meet the demands of the industry. And as I started to reach out to fellow graduates from my classes in other universities, I realized that had it not been for the administrative work that I was doing as a work study to put myself through school, and the internships that I had done, because I was a resident advisor and all those other things, right? That you know that world, right?
Right. All too well.
So that had I not had those skill sets, I'm not sure that I would have had anything to really offer entry-level positions for in the sector of the entertainment industry that I want to go into. So I immediately started an internship program, and I started to work with the interns to really get a sense of what skill sets, what knowledge, what information would make a difference in their internships with me, to make sure that they could be relevant to the marketplace by the time they graduated.
Right.
So that was the impetus of the idea. And so I started to create the curriculum. And then one of the other things that was frustrating for me was that there's a predatory business that preys on the desire of people wanting to enter this business.
Right.
Everybody's a coach, everybody's got a class, everybody's got a book, everybody has the formula, and so on and so forth. And in my as I was ascending in the entertainment industry, from assistant to a creative executive to a VP, I took some of these classes because I wanted to get a sense of what it was. And I was shocked at the little value that they actually delivered for the money that they were charging.
Right.
And I was actually, frankly, a little bit disgusted because I saw so many people making a lot of money selling a product that wasn't really preparing people. And so that became also one of the reasons that I chose to continue to develop this program. And then back in 1997, when I'd done my research and designed it and tested it, that's when I applied for a copyright for it and got the copyright and then started to roll it out. So, and the beauty of the program is that I've had people go through it who've experienced successes. So, and I continue to tweak it and evolve it because the beauty and the horror about our business is that it's always changing.
Absolutely.
Right.
Absolutely.
New platforms rise, right? Old platforms die off. The kinds of projects you do, the kinds of, you may start as a writer today, you become a producer tomorrow. So, and I wanted to create something that was dynamic and would be able to apply to all these kinds of things. So that's what compelled me to start it. And it's something that I'm very passionate about.
Absolutely. And I think your track record shows for all the good you've done in the community. And it's not to say that other folks who are attempting to teach, don't have the right skill set, but it's also, if you're going to teach, what do you hope for your students to take away from it? And what do you hope for them to gain from where you started, because I think for all of us, we all have mentors and people in our lives that are doing the things that we want to do. And we want to make sure that whoever you take as a mentor for yourself, that you look at that person and say to yourself, okay, they are in the exact position that I want to be by the time I get to where they're at in their life, in their space. And I think it's important for anybody, when you're doing your research on what organizations to be a part of, or, what mentors are available to me, what access do I have, that you also pay attention to their accomplishments, the things that, that they've done. And I always say this to people, but it's like a shoe, right? You got to find what fits you, because at the end of the day, like you might have somebody who has an amazing track record and all these other things, but they may not treat people the way you want to treat people, right? Yeah. So all those things matter. And so when you're looking for mentorship, when you're looking for organizations, you have to pay attention to what you want and what the person is providing. And also obviously pay attention to the money, because a lot of us are broke. So
exactly.
It's like hard,
Right. Not only that, it's, and because of the economy of where it's at, because of what's happening is that more than ever, I think that people who want to learn have to be really, really, really picky, or take their time in research, right? Because the flashiest website may be flashy, but if you can't find any student who's willing to talk about their, someone's, ability to teach or experience, is it worth your time? At the end of the day, and I think I may have shared this in the program that you're in, which is, and I share this, I think, with every program, which is, at the end of the day, the only commodity you can't get back is your time. Right. You can always make money back and everything else, but be choosy, do research. There are a lot of people out there who mimic. There are a lot of people out there who pretend. There are a lot of people, and I get it. They need to make their money and so on and so forth.
We work in the entertainment business, so we got a lot of actors on screen, off screen.
Off screen, right. So exactly. I think the important part is that if and I'm a huge proponent of lifelong learning. I think you never stop learning, and you should never stop learning in order to remain relevant in the business.
Right.
And at the same time, as I said, to your point about be willing to try on a bunch of shoes, right? Be willing to ask tough questions. Oh, you're a coach. Can you put me together with a client of yours, or a couple of clients of yours, so I can ask them what their experience was? Oh, you're teaching at a university. What's your background? What's your educational background? And if these people who want your money, or who want to coach you, or want to mentor you, become defensive, that's a pretty good sign.
Right. It says a lot. It says a lot because,
yeah. And I mean, and it's also great that what you said, that, they may be incredibly accomplished, but they may not have mastered what it means to be a teacher. Right. They may not have mastered how to help someone, ascend the ladder. Doesn't take away from their accomplishments.
Absolutely.
It's just
A lot of people have a lot of accomplishments, but when it comes to teaching, like how they got there, it sometimes doesn't, it doesn't necessarily play out the way you want it to. And that's
absolutely.
okay, you know.
Absolutely.
But
So it's important. So it's important, as I said, do your research. Don't be afraid to ask tough questions. And if the people that you're about to give money feel, their feathers get ruffled because you're asking these questions, then they may not be for you.
Right, absolutely. And you said something earlier, which was the value of time. And I remember a mentor of mine back when I worked in SUNY Buffalo State. She said the two most important things that anybody can have in their possession is your time and your energy. You only have so much energy on a daily basis, and you only have so much time to give in this lifetime. And so it's important that you're using your resources, that you're asking the right questions, that you're connecting with the right people, and like you, that you're a lifelong learner, and that no matter how high you go up in this, that you don't stop that. Because just look at who you are, right? And all the accomplishments that and the fact that you're here today and you're like, yo, but I'm still learning and I'm still growing. And it's
still learning. I think the worst thing that you can say to yourself is that I'm done or I know it all.
Mm-hmm.
I'm good. Yeah.
Good.
Yeah. So the other thing that I was just going to say, it's interesting you said time and energy and attention.
Right.
We live in an attention, right now we live in an attention economy. Everyone wants your attention, right? Be judicious.
Right.
Be picky about what you give your attention to. Right, because that also affects who you are, what you're committed to, and what you're looking to create.
Absolutely. So in talking about time, you're finishing up your doctorate at Teachers College at Columbia University. So what's next for you with everything that you've accomplished and things?
Yes, I am. My intention is to complete my doctorate by the end of this year, and I've got yes.
Prayers go up, blessings come down.
Exactly. I've been given, over the last couple of years, because of the work and the research that I've been doing, I've been given opportunities to travel to Europe and Africa and Asia to lead this program or to speak about the kind of work that I do. And so one of the things that I'm doing is launching an institute that would be accountable for the training and development of entrepreneurs in the creative industries, an institute that would be accountable for consulting and doing research in this space, because the creative economy is the size of the economy globally is increasing. Right. And that there's a demand for there's going to be a demand for training and development programs that are evidence-based and have results that they can point to in order to train the next generation of entrepreneurs in that space. So I hope to be part of that movement.
Yeah, wow, that's amazing. Congratulations on, first of all, I know you're going to finish your doctorate. It's not about if, it's about when. And it's great to see that you're continually moving the threshold forward for creative entrepreneurship and giving, and just taking it worldwide. I think it's important. I'm grateful to be a part of this, and I'm also really grateful. We got one more question before I send you off on the weekend. For everybody watching today, Michael, what advice do you have for individuals interested in being part of the creative economy?
I think, and I think some of these we touched during our conversation. I think that the first thing is learn as much about what you want to do as possible. And for me, that doesn't necessarily mean you have to go to college or university. For me, it means that you should, if you want to be a chef, look to go and work in a restaurant or a company that owns restaurants, so you can understand the lived experience of what it means to be a chef, what it means to also be a businessman. It also means, again, lifelong learning. Never stop learning. Really look for mentors or individuals who inspire you to enter that sector of the creative economy, because the creative economy encompasses many different factors, many different silos. It encompasses media, music, fashion, culinary arts, graphic arts, and architecture, and and on and on and on. Anything that you need to either create a copyright for, a patent, or a trademark for. The other thing is that I highly recommend is know who you're creating stuff for, right?
Yeah.
And what I mean by that is, you know, one of my favorite lines from Project Runway ages ago was, you know, Tim would ask the fashion designers is, who's your girl? Who are you designing for, right? Because as someone who's in the creative economy, you have to know who your consumer is.
Right. Right.
You have to understand where they live, what they were, you know, what they like, how you can, you know, how can you make sure that the person that you're creating for, the community that you're creating for is going to buy your stuff.
Right.
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 Because I think that's one of the key components of making sure that you yourself know that you're on the right track.
Mm-hmm.
The last thing that I'll say about that is build a community around you.
Right.
You know, the beauty and the horror, you know, one of the things about the United States is that we believe that the individual, we believe in the individual, we believe in the sole hero, we believe in the person who's done it all themselves.
Rise up on your own and
yeah, exactly.
it for yourself, and then everyone else has to figure it out.
Exactly. And I don't know about you, but I didn't get to where I was by doing it by myself.
Oh yeah, same.
My parents were there, my teachers, I had mentors, I had, you know, colleagues of mine, I had friends, I had clients, I had students, all of them enriched and helped me make who I am. And one of the smartest things that I did when I was a young executive was build a very large network of people that I supported and who supported me. And to this day, we still are doing that, right? Because at the end of the day, it's going to be really important. Being able to leverage your network is going to be incredibly important in any field that you choose to take on, but more so in the creative economy. You know, it's, as you know, since you're a fellow in the micro budget directing program, knowing other people who are going through the same thing as you, who are as committed as you, who are as excited as you, who bring different tools and experiences to the table really help build and round you off in ways that you probably didn't even know until you entered the program.
Yep.
Right. And in magnifying that and connecting you with these individuals, you now have different people to whom you can contribute to and who can contribute back to you. So that's networking, your access is incredibly important. So lifelong learning, know who your consumer is, and network.
Oh, amazing. These are gems that you don't get anywhere else outside of Coffee with Filmmakers episode 3.
It's only here.
Yeah, right. This is exclusive, everybody. You don't no, but it's true. I joke around but it's not a secret, right? I think a lot of the things that you're saying, it's so true. The power of community. I mean, where there's people, there's power. And Fred Hampton said that. Shout out to Judas and the Black Messiahs. But I mean, I just for me and for you and for anybody who's watching this, if you think back at all the successes that you've had in your life, it's not so much the accomplishment that has been the most rewarding. It's the people that have been around that and have pushed you through that.
Yeah.
It's they always say it's the journey, it's not the destination. But when you reach that destination and you have all those people standing next to you and loving you and supporting you and proud of you, it really fills you. And as I know for me it does, and I'm sure it does for you.
Definitely.
And so it's important. I think the 3 things you said, it's not a secret. If you find people that are interested in the things that you're interested in and they're prepared to do the work behind it as you,
that's key.
That's the key, right?
That's the key. We're willing to really do the work, give you
put
the
in
work,
real time.
Put it in real time and be willing to contribute and be contributed to. That's, you can't buy that, because there are many people who have a story to tell, or there are many people who want to become fashion designers or architects or chefs or so on and so forth. And they may stay in that wishing mode because of many different reasons, right? And no judgment there. It's just what may be so. But I should say, and I think one of the most important things is to surround yourself with people who are not only passionate and also willing to put the energy and the work to get stuff made.
Absolutely. And so with that being said, we're gonna mic drop it right there.
Thank you.
Michael, I want to thank you so much for taking the time to speak with me and all of our members at HFC and anybody else who watches or subscribes to the HFC channel on YouTube. This has been Coffee with Filmmakers, episode 3. Everybody have an amazing day. We're sending love and blessings to all you guys, wherever you may be. God bless you guys. Love
Thank you.
Have a great day.
Thank you, Julian. Thank you, HFC.